Hello and welcome to episode number 10 of the wallPen podcast, the art and business of vertical printing. I am your host, James, and as always with me are co-founders of wallPen North America, Mark and Mark.
James, how's it going, man? Good to connect with you again. It's been a busy few months, dude. If people think we haven't been doing podcasts, it's because we are like sliding into the weekends, trying to keep our head above water, which is great. You know, it's what we want.
Yeah, man. No, things have been good, busy, and obviously you guys have been like crazy busy, as you were saying. And yeah, how's business? Let us know. How's business? Operators, what's going on?
It's great, man. When we talk to customers, which there are lots and lots of people, I think things are finally starting to click and people are really seeing the opportunity, which is great because we always suspected that as machines went out into the world, into the wild, like there is no better sales tool than the wallpen itself. So the more that are out there, the more people are seeing it, the more people are going to get excited by it. Like it's one of those that it's really one of the best parts about building out this community is seeing it's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy. But it's just been great, man. I mean, people, coming in from all over North America, operators coming online. We're bringing machines in regularly and steadily. And honestly, for the most part, selling out before they even get here.
That's awesome.
And seeing all different types of operators come online. I mean, one of the latest ones, shout out to our guy, Joey out of Louisiana. Super interesting. He's a tattoo artist. Which is one space that we've always thought was very interesting. Like we always, one of our catch line, taglines is tattoo your walls, vinyl's a sticker. This is a tattoo. And the artwork itself is very like behind me here, like amorphous, which is like very much in line with tattoo. So it's a whole community that we've wanted to explore. He's got a great story. I'm going to get him to definitely film himself saying it. But when Mark and I were up in Fargo, I got a call from him randomly and he's like, man, I'll tell you what, like, you may not remember me, but I've spent the past year trying to like figure out why this won't work. And like, I give up, man. I can't. It seems like it's going to work. It's just like, it's like really like a testament. And I swear he came here guns blazing. Like he even said, he's like, I was really hoping this wasn't what I thought it was. And it's a fair warning to anyone who comes. It's like, bring your checkbook, dude. You're going to want to get involved once you see it. Once you see that this isn't smoke and mirrors. Yeah.
He's like, I did everything I could to not do this business, and yet here I am.
That's so awesome. That's good.
Yeah, but he's hit the ground running, man. A lot of our operators are. Again, I think we've got a really strong presence out there in the market. The one thing we can always guarantee is that the machine's going to work. It will. If it doesn't work, we guarantee we'll fix it. And that's always, we have been building this for 5 years. And shout out to Andreas and his team, like behind the scenes, doing all the technology needs to go. Mark, we can tell horror stories till there's no tomorrow of like that gut wrenching feeling of we're about to hit print, like what that feels like. Now it's like, hands high behind my back, like blindfolded, like turn that thing on. It's going to print great and you are going to love it. And this is the number one thing I'd say out of 2023. Like we are just getting started. Like this is like the bare minimum of getting us out there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny with having worked on this for so long, a lot of the conversations we had with especially our earliest customers, it's been troubleshooting. We were on the phone regularly. We were helping them get their business off the ground. It was a lot of communication around problem solving. And all of a sudden, and this just happened to me this week, all of a sudden we went like 3 or 4 months with one of our customers, Justin Whitty out in South Carolina, who we just didn't hear from. And we're like, well, I mean, I hope he's okay. Like, I hope everything's all right. And all of a sudden we get a phone call and it's like, hey, Justin, how you doing? He's like, oh man, sorry, I haven't called you guys. I've been so busy. Like I've been printing 3 times a week, like, no problem. So he's like, I felt like I haven't had to call you. I was like, Justin, just call me and tell me that you're doing great, man. Like I'd love to get those phone calls. Just like,
I thought we were friends. Yeah. I thought we were friends, man. I don't know what's going on here.
And yeah, he tapped into a network that's been really working for him. And, he's been busy and happy and excited, and it was just so great to hear. After again, he was I think he has printer number like 8 off the line of the E2, so he was very early on in the E2 days, and to see it come full circle.
Every single bug, every single thing we had to troubleshoot, I'm pretty sure he got like a nice healthy dose of that. Yeah,
and contributed to some solutions, no less.
Absolutely,
as well.
Like, he's honestly one of our best operators by far in terms of his ability to just like troubleshoot around things. Not a guy that like needs to ship his stuff in. He's very handy that way. But like Mark said, it's really fantastic to see. Probably the most disappointing thing when printers don't work is that you start losing the momentum. You feel you're like, I don't know if I want to do this, or like this. I really hope this isn't a problem. And like you start like, I don't know, losing that magic, that touch in the sales, which is like truly you are going to flip when you see what this can do. There is nothing simpler than upselling a print when you're on site, because you're going to watch it. It's like going to the carnival. It's like, I'm sorry, do you not want to go on this ride? Like, it looks great. I promise you, it's really fun, you know, that kind of thing. And so, you know, to be able to say that we rounded out 2023 where like our operators earliest on, people that had the most trouble are now not even calling us because like they don't need us anymore. It's sort of like, we're parents and like now Justin's cool. He's moved out and he doesn't need his parents anymore. It's sort of how it feels. Like, honestly, I highly recommend anybody, you know, reach out, take a look at what he's doing. You know, reach out to him because again, he'll shoot you straight on like, here's what the challenges were, but here's how we responded to them. And I think that's probably the number one thing that we would walk away from 2023 saying is like, we stood by our guns. We knew what we were trying to accomplish. It wasn't going to be easy, but we knew that it would work in the end. And it's all sales all day now, right? Like this is what we want. We want to find different applications. You work with tattoo artists. We're trying to find all the cool, interesting things we can do. As Mark and I will tell anybody, like we're just two knuckleheads, like two engineers. It's like definitely not the brainchild of every single idea that you could do with this thing. So it's really exciting to see people come online and be able to focus on the creative side.
That's so awesome, man. That's so good to hear. Yeah. So like talking about like the whole like community aspect of things, like the hub is something new too. And like, that's where, just for anyone who doesn't know, actually maybe just explain for anyone who may not know what the hub is. Yeah.
The hub's been 5 years in the making. The hub was always something that we wanted when we started, which was,
come on, Mark, you can say it. This is Mark's baby. He was pushing for this forever. Like he did literally all the work. Yeah. You notice normally I jump in first on those conversations, Mark. Like he's like, there's no way I'm letting Tisdall talk about this first. No, he did, honestly.
A labor of love. Yeah, a labor of love. It was when you start something like this, you just want to know there's somebody out there doing the same thing. You know, being left on an island, starting a business is like one of the hardest things. It was one of the hardest things that I dealt with personally, trying to start this business. And so for me, it was like, how can I solve that for any of our operators? And the hub is a community platform that has now 65 operators internationally. We're going to be broadcasting it to all operators. So I expect to see that grow to well over 100 in the new year. Where you can come, you can talk about.
Think about that, Closer. Over 100 people nuts. Doing this. Like when Mark says like we were on an island, like we literally the only other person we probably could talk to was Andreas and a couple of his teammates. Like that for so many years. That's all we had. People like, not like, what is a wall printer? Like I wouldn't know how to troubleshoot this in the first place. To think that there's 100 people, over 100 people connected on it is absolutely insane. Yeah.
It's 100 people with 100 different experiences and 100 different applications. And, you know, so like it really is a place where you can come together, whether you're trying to solve a problem, you've got a community of people who likely have had the same problem, will provide you a ton of insight, to being able to show your work off, you know, being able to see jobs that are being printed and accessories being developed and just how people are using their printers. Has just been awesome. And so like, you know, it started off, you trying to nurture a community. I'd be on there like every day, all night as people were messaging just to keep things going. And then I wake up and I see someone post a message out of, you know, the Netherlands at 2 a.m. And then like, there's already 8 comments, you know, responding and pictures taken and, you know, support given. It's really, really great and is something that we're super excited about and has really shifted the way our operators feel about joining the wallPen team and the wallPen family and community, right? Like you start with a group of people who are doing the same thing right into the hub. The first thing that you get is access to the hub, all of your training videos, you know, kind of everything. So it really gets people excited to know that they've got a group of people to be able to lean on that are exactly and 100% familiar with what you're doing.
It's even more, I mean, like, dare I say, like, it's even more than what Mark's saying. Like there's so many resources. There's so much like development happening in that space that, again, that's like, this is just the kernel that has been planted. Like there are so many things now that we've connected with wallPen out of Germany on this. Andreas loves it. Like it's fantastic. We're going to step it up in 2024. There's going to be even more access to things. There's going to be more development as it comes. I mean, there are some fascinating things about the wallPen that we have yet to explore. Personally, one of the ones that I've wanted to do for a long time is wallPen files are machine agnostic at, like, I don't know, probably a year ago, meaning like my wallPen and Mark's wallPen, we can just share files, right? So we can just trade ideas back and forth. There's all kinds of, every time I say this, everybody's like, we should share the TIFF files so everybody can format it themselves. I get that. But the idea that there's an ability to share, the ability to like actually take design and transfer it across this hub and show people like you can do this. I mean, one of the most random things that happened this year truly was I was yelling at Liam like I often do about like what I wanted to see, right? Because he has a certain style that he likes to print. And I was just on him, and it was kind of in front of the team and everything. And I was just like, dude, I just want to see some stuff. Like I don't even care. Go on AI and make me like a metallic bee with a beehive and all these things. And so he went and did it. And it's like not one of our most requested files that everybody who comes through that sees it wants this metallic bee. And it was a throwaway comment of mine, right? Another one that like we had some family in here, John Lovelace and his family, and he had brought 2 boys with him, and like we always do this, right? We're leveraging AI, so it's always like, okay, like come up with a prompt, like what do you want to see? And this kid was just like, I want to see my dog as a portrait in some armor or whatever. And so like we printed it, and again, a massive request from everybody is these funny pictures. It's like dogs playing poker, like these funny pictures of dogs doing it. Like it's so fun to see like that creating a file that like certain things stick and whatnot. And the hub is going to enable such a more open line of communication of like, try this or look at this. And, we still right now to this day are operating very much as like nucleus, all separate. And like being able to bring that design sense into like, you should try this or you should be doing this. And that's a program that I've wanted for a long time, is like, we should have design services, or at least some sort of way of like leveraging the fact that everybody right now is reinventing the wheel everywhere we go. Like there are some common trends that we could tell you, like there are things that are always going to work or ideas that are always going to play. And the hub is just going to create this conversation that honestly is non-existent today. Yeah.
That's so awesome. I absolutely love that. It's like, and it's so good too that the hub is like in itself like its own thing, instead of being like on a Facebook thing or whatever else. Like you guys have created like like its own, I don't know,
it's a standalone
spot.
It's a standalone.
I love it.
It has app access. You can get to it on your phone. You can get to it on your computer. It's like it's kind of there with you everywhere you go. Yeah,
and super intuitive.
Really,
like
really awesome.
It's very straightforward to use. It does not require an instruction manual.
Yeah. So you're talking about the steel bee and then the dogs. What other things or prints from 2023 that have been like memorable, that have like just blown your socks off?
Big shout out to our VAST partners. That VAST photo repository has been huge for everybody. They're again, I think I've said this on this before, but like res ipsa loquitur is the way that I like to print, which means the thing speaks for itself. So if you come to Asheville, like people are like, oh, it's like you got to prove like what can it do, and people will always want to know like, can it print big, can it print high def, can it print this, is it quality, is it this? So we have this massive 25-foot skyline in New York City. If you haven't seen it, like hop on our socials and check it out. But like you walk in and it answers right away, like those first 3 questions that are right on your lips. You stand there and stare. Everybody does this like Easter egg hunt looking at it, but the VAST photos, honestly, like they play every single time. How many have we seen now, Clauser? Maybe it's only probably about 5 or 10. I don't know how many are actually like really out there.
I would say a half dozen or so. Yeah.
Yeah, but every one of them, when you do it, even it's sort of like interesting. You think it's like we're just printing a mountainscape. We did that one with the guys in Salt Lake City, and I thought it was cool, right? But I didn't necessarily think it was going to engage. We had everybody constantly walking, like you had to go and look, and there's something about that level of detail at that scale that like is just so incredible. It really is. It doesn't matter, like really in a way. Well, I mean, shout out to VAST. Their photos are absolutely stunning. Like these guys are artists. Like it's really amazing. But that huge scale that we're printing directly on the wall, it just speaks volumes, and it's part of that journey, right? Of like being able to guarantee results on the design side, of like guaranteeing that this is going to look incredible. VAST is an immediate, automatic. I guarantee it. If you print a VAST photo at scale, you will absolutely blow minds. It is insane. So for me, like I have to give them credit. That has given us the ability to create something automatically without thinking about it. That's a big question. Like, do you guys have a catalog? It's like kind of hard to make a catalog of custom images, right? But VAST, honestly, it has really provided probably a baseline that I think for the first time in the existence of wallPen, that I would say like anything on there is going to look incredible. If you can sell that, like people.
And thanks to their promotional offer to all wallpen operators, we've got guys out in the Surface Picks guys in Salt Lake City. I mean, they've sold I think 6 of them outright.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. Congrats to them.
They're converting. They've got a huge contract with a large player out there, and it's great to see. And it makes sense. Why wouldn't these images are just they're stunning. So it's been great to see, and we're going to see more and more operators printing more VAST photos in the new year because it hits.
I wish I could see the reaction of the people that like contracted Surface Picks to do like because they do have some social stuff out there. Like we've seen it on LinkedIn and whatnot. Man, it's 26 feet down this hallway, like almost full
That's
height, right? Of this,
crazy.
like, it's a canyon, some famous canyon in Utah. And like,
Yeah.
dude, like I get what most people are like, this is going to be great. I'm looking forward to seeing it, blah, 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 right? But that's different than when you walk up to the hallway and you're like, oh my God, like it's literally exactly what you said. Like that's the part that I really in 2024, I really want to make sure we get is like really showing how capture that feeling that you get when you see it. Cause it's different than anything else. There's nothing quite like it. The wallpen really has that. And I don't believe any other medium really has the same effect.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that, like the quality behind it. Like, and when I was talking with the Surface Picks guys, like they had like that old competitor Chinese printer, and like that printer would not even it wouldn't even like you could not print something as detailed with as many megapixels as a vast photo. But then as soon as you get like the wall pen, it's like now it makes sense to print something of that high quality on and put it up on a wall. Like it's awesome. It was a lot of insight from when I had my discussion with those guys.
I highly recommend you guys, anyone out there listening that hasn't seen it, to check that out. That's number one question that we talk to is like, well, why can't I go on Alibaba and spend $3,000 and get a print quality? It's like,
no,
there's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of reasons why that's not going to go well for you. Not the least of which is just not how you want to set up your business. There's a lot of reasons to that. And again, James, I thought you did a great job. Like those guys probably have the best storyline of like,
oh yeah,
why wallpen? If we just named it that, I think that honestly their story and their journey is probably the best case, and they're very open about it. And if it would have worked, I'm very confident they would have done it.
Yeah. And what's wild is we were able to capture that storyline, but given the amount of people that we've spoken to, up until this point, like it's becoming a very common trend. We're speaking to a lot more people who started down the Alibaba path. Like, well, we saw this tech, we saw this opportunity. Like, why not go and pull the trigger on something that was a little cheaper? And they all come back saying like, we just
didn't make sense. Yeah,
we're in too deep, and we're not succeeding. It's not working. Like, how can we work with you guys and get a wallpen?
Again, it's the most, besides that question, the next most common question is like, what's my ROI? Everybody wants to know, right? Which is kind of an open-ended question, because it's like, well, it depends. I mean, like, can you sell? Are you in the middle of nowhere? Or do you have business ready to go or not? Because if you're printing, you're going to be printing it anywhere from $200 to $600 an hour. That's been our experience. Like if that printer's printing, that's about the rate that you're generating. So how often can you get that thing printing, right? That's the question. And to give you some example of like, okay, so what does that mean? Like, so what does that mean for me? Like the Surface Picks guys, like sat on their Chinese printer, right? It's like they were drumming business. They were doing this, but they didn't take it out of the basement. A very common story. Same with me. I never got my Chinese printer out of the basement either. They generated the business but refused to go and enact it. When they got the wall pen, they unboxed it, right? They had a bit of training, and then the very day after they were done training, they were printing for a job and have been printing consistently since. Like if you think of it that way, right? They're already over $10,000. I don't know exactly what their numbers are, but I'm confident based on what they told me, they're already over $10,000 in revenue and rolling. And then that's not even talking about the momentum that they're gaining as they go, because every time you print, you're this. So it's like, what can I do? It's like, well, okay, admittedly, they had 8 months of like, they were thinking it through. They got to start conversations even if they couldn't close them. All right, well, let's say within a year, you knew you were generating that kind of thing. Like that's just the start. Again, that's just to get you going. Now that you have that, what does it look like as you go forward? And that's, again, the testament to those guys. They are absolutely killing it in Salt Lake.
Oh, yeah.
We're planning all kinds of like fun and interesting things in 2024 to collaborate with them. Some interesting prints and things coming down the pipeline. So yeah, talk about guys that absolutely are crushing it.
Yeah. So Vast is a good one. Another one that came out this year in terms of interesting prints was out of Joel in Oregon.
Right.
Which is something I'm really excited about, and something I think we're going to be exploring a lot more in detail in 2024, is this idea that you can take a digitally rendered image, a 3D model that would be used for CGI in movies or video games, and then convert that into a high definition, hyper realistic image that you can print. Is a concept that we would have never have considered, but given Joel's background in virtual effects, he created this plant wall that is just like so realistic it slaps you in the face. It's one of those like, until you're 6 inches away from it, do you realize that like, oh my God, there aren't actually plants, because it's rendered in 3D space, you're able to apply shadows and things to it that you would never be able to do with just traditional Photoshop. And so we started exploring this world of kind of 3D models and renderings, and then went ahead and printed a plant wall ourselves because like we just, after seeing it, we just couldn't let it go. We needed one, you know.
Yeah.
And it was incredible.
What does Joel say? It's for everybody who wants a plant wall but doesn't want to have to water it. And like it's a great line because it's true. It's like and again, it's one of those bases I can promise you that like
Right.
being able to go to a business and be like, would you like a plant wall with your logo nestled in it? It's like every foyer should have one. You know what I mean? Like there's no, it looks stunning. You think it looks cheap. It's not. This is not vinyl. This is not crap. This is going to look enough. There's enough realism in what we're doing that like absolutely changes the space. I love it. We're gonna work on ours. We're gonna redo it. There's just some things you learn as you go, but I love it.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. It went from being kind of a sterile space. Probably my greatest shame is like this space, the wall printing, wallPen headquarters was like pretty scant on
Bright
brains, to be
walls.
honest. Yeah, well, we had a lot going on, and like, I'm a bit lazy, all those things, procrastinating. But like, as soon as we added it, it just changed the whole look and feel of the space. All of a sudden, we were centered on something. And again, that's the kind of thing we want to push the envelope here. And we're gonna redo it because again, we want that perfection. Andreas was here, he saw it, and we're gonna make sure we get that German precision dialed in.
That's awesome. That's so good. Constantly, like, it's like you're constantly like pushing things forward and getting like new ideas and trying them out and testing them out. Then you put it back on the hub. People do the same thing, and they give tips and everything, and they keep pushing the boundaries. And as far as you can make the printer operate, is like, it's awesome. It's just so good to see. It's so good.
It's just the start, man. Again, it's just the start. We're just talking about barely getting involved. We barely got the tools set up, right? But it's going to be coming like a tidal wave in 2024 for sure.
Man, white ink projects. Have there been many or any memorable ones or ones that stand out to you guys? I remember Liam at your office, he had like, when he first started testing it out, you do the print and you're able to print over it again with like the white ink as like a base for an image.
That's a sneaky like fix it on site if something happens like that. I honestly I never considered it. But he started implementing that. Yeah, I had trouble one day with some solid color, which is like kind of hard to print. And just like instead of painting and going through that whole thing, he just went ahead and printed white right over the top, and it looks great. Like, none the wiser. Slows the print down a little bit, but yeah, actually a really, really clever way to troubleshoot on site if you need to. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was brand new. Like obviously it was launched this year. We've got a handful of customers who've taken it on, and we're just now starting to see some of the larger scale projects being implemented with it.
Nice.
Again, Justin Whitty out of South Carolina, I would have never known he had printed this many things in white ink, but like after my conversation with him, he's done a whole bunch of projects, and one that's really hitting home for him right now is he actually prints on canvas gun cases.
Oh,
so,
wow.
No way. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. It's like an off the wall type of application.
Yeah.
He's like, I tried it once. He goes, it looks incredible. The white ink on a black case with like, a colored image on top. He goes, he's been busy in between his on-site projects. He's been busy kind of running through that as a side hustle amongst his main hustle, it's just like being able to keep the printer running at home without having to mobilize is kind of nice. Right. So, that was an interesting application that I wouldn't have never have considered, but he showed me some pictures and they look incredible, right? So customizing things has been great. Smart. And then, what you'd expect. Like we've seen stuff. Wesley, who we spoke to a couple podcasts ago out of the Netherlands, he's been doing a lot of great stuff with white ink. Some stuff on like dark walls and things. Mm-hmm. It's what you'd expect. It's like one of those things that had such a buildup, and then now that it's implemented and you look at it, you're like, oh, that's exactly how it's supposed to operate. It's like, it looks great.
True.
It's
one of those things that works so well, you almost forget you have it, right? It's like, considering it only launched in August, like it's crazy that we don't think about it. Like I think about it as common now. I'm like, yeah, of course we can do that, right? Doesn't even cross my mind to say no. wallPen Germany themselves, when they launched white ink, part of their like last testing was to do this big children's hospital. That's probably I gotta believe that's the biggest project to date. That was something like 600.
Oh yeah, they had 6 printers running at once, and
it was massive, but absolutely stunning. Like really beautiful. These like hand drawn animals all over this hospital. And again, that's the kind of thing that you love to see, right? It's like you want to create a look and a feel when especially a kids hospital, like of all the places that you could do great work for. So yeah, and again, just kind of like we're just starting to scratch the surface of what whiting can do. Like as I'm sitting here, like Liam just left with our printer to go do a print on for a property developer here. It's on a yellow wall. And again, like I was saying, it's funny that I don't even think about it now. Whereas like even 6 months ago, it would be like, well, we're going to have to paint the wall, or we're going to have to I don't have to think of something. And like now he just packed up the printer. He's going to be on site. He's going to print it. He's going to come back. Right. It's like, it's just what we want. You shouldn't be thinking about, can the printer do it? That's really the goal. That's the brilliance of the development, truly, is that like, it's so good. You don't have to think about it. It's like, you don't think about your phone after you take it out of the box, and there's like, you're doing things with your phone. Right. You rarely think that's what we want with the wallPen. We want it to be turnkey, ready to go. So smooth and simple and easy that the operation of the printer is like not anything extraordinary, right? What you do with the printer is where they really want to do the focus. And again, I think I speak for wallPen themselves when we say like what they're working on in the background, some of the things they're developing is lending itself perfectly to that.
Yeah. I was just, because you guys mentioned like off the wall, and I just love that idea, because I remember I spoke with like a mutual friend who did like a Justin Bieber print, and that was like an off the wall thing. And essentially what it is, anyone who hasn't seen it, it's what was it, plywood. I can't remember exactly the type of wood, but it's like a massive
Baltic birch sheet of plywood.
And this thing is massive inside of his office, and he's just like a huge Justin Bieber fan. And he wanted something that was unique, and yeah, the wallPen pulled through, and again, just printed on
that project.
The wood. Yeah,
that project was the dawn of the the easel, which also launched this year.
Right.
Trying to print, which it probably weighs 60 plus pounds, a sheet of 3/4 inch plywood.
So big. Yeah.
And I remember having it mounted in my office on like some stringers that I had put on the wall, and it was a rental, so it was double-sided taped and everything, and watching the printer print and the wood starting to drop. And so I spent the last like 20 minutes kind of like with my arm wedged underneath it and just holding this thing. It's like, it was a $200 piece of wood. It was in the throes of COVID. Like I did not want to have to pay for another piece, It was just like all the things that were wrong. And it was that from that point on, it's like, we are going to develop a system that allows us to print on things, because there is no way I'm doing this again.
Yeah. It came out so nice. Yeah, it came out so nice. And like, I guess like my one question that I saw, because I noticed that like the print actually is it's like all the way to like each of the different corners and border size. Like, how was that possible to do that?
Yeah, again, with the easel or something similar back then, I had to create my own border conditions. But being able to print on objects allows you to go edge to edge, right?
Gotcha.
So any of the doors that we print, which is again which started with the plywood, ended up with us printing doors.
That's crazy, right?
We're able to go edge to edge on all the doors in that way. So yeah, it provides a really cool effect on things that are off the wall.
Yeah, I love it. And this goes back to like what you guys are saying. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm thinking now, like just sort of how random some of the development we've done, and like like a Bieber on plywood. Like, all right, if I had a million guesses, I'm pretty sure I never would have come up with that one. And then the doors and stuff. I'm thinking maybe in 2024, Mark, what we should do is like off the wall bingo. You know what I mean? Or like a scavenger hunt of like who can print on the most random things, of like, print on a tree outside, print on something that's like totally random, right? Because like, one of the ones that I keep pushing that I haven't gotten anyone to do yet, but I might now that I've got Liam, I might force him to do it because he has to do what I say. But is bathroom stalls. That's one that I really want to see, because I've never seen a graphic on a bathroom stall, right? On the doors or any of those things. Those things come apart. They're not super hard. They're everywhere, and they're always blue or beige or gray or something. Why not put something super cool on that? Like that's the kind of thing that this printer truly, at the end of the day, what excites me about it is like, you're going to approach graphics differently, right? Like, I mean, again, who would have thought this? And what's interesting about the plywood story is like, that can be done by a flatbed printer. That's not necessarily like a wallPen only thing. The problem is when you start calling around design shops and companies that have these printers is like, it's outside of what they normally do. They're not set up to really handle like, and I understand where they're coming from. It's like, it's a really expensive piece of equipment. We don't really want the hassle. How much are we going to have to charge you to make that worth it? Like, there's a lot of reasons why like, bringing it all the way to the site and then putting it on there and then taking it away. Like, there's a lot of reasons why that's like kind of not really worth it to them. Whereas for a wallpen operator, it's like, we love that stuff. That stuff is like, that's easy. You're not even on site printing on someone's wall, having to like do a performance and everything. You're in, like, to your point about Justin doing the gun cases, it's like you're in your own space. You get to like do it. You get to set it up, and like there's so many things that like truly are just surprisingly enabling graphics that I wouldn't have normally thought. So again, we're looking in 2024. I think that's what we're going to do. I think we're going to have to come up with a list of like what's random things that you would never consider graphics on, and then let's like put it in the hub, and we'll have a little contest to see like who can check.
I mean, we got a half dozen. We got a half dozen easels out there, so I'm definitely interested to see what these guys start printing with. You know, like,
yeah, for sure.
There's gonna be more stuff being printed. So
I love it,
definitely.
And like the whole idea of just keeping the printer going, right? Like, if you're not doing a print on a customer's wall or whatever the case may be, like, there's the opportunity to do like the off the wall products. And it sounds like there's like lots of success that could be had with that. I remember just talking with Surface Picks, and one of the contest ideas is when they first got the wallpen and they unpacked it and unboxed it, they watched the video where it shows, it takes like 5 minutes, 7 minutes to put together the wallpen, and they're thinking like maybe there should be like a competition to see how quickly you can put together the wallpen, because that's unheard of to be able to put such like a complex machine together in like such a short period of time with one tool. Like, that was the one thing for 2023 that really stuck with me. And when I first started to like understand what the wallpen was, like, easier than like any IKEA furniture that you can think of.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
One tool, like, absolutely insane. It's so cool.
Yeah, we'll have to host a wallpen Olympics or something this year.
Yeah. Honestly, like, I can already tell I would throw my back out immediately trying to do that. Yeah, definitely.
We got to start a competition, and just everyone films themselves and puts a timer up and just sees how quickly they can put together the wallpen.
Yeah, totally.
Love it. Wow,
man, we're hammering through everything. I love this, guys. It's been quite the 2023, quite the year. What's going on for 2024? Anything that you guys can think of? Any features or just anything?
Yeah,
just words
of wisdom, major things, James. We just can't talk. We can't talk about it on this podcast, unfortunately. Truly, I mean that. Like, I hate to tease, but it's like, watch for it. Like, we have to leave a little bit of a cliffhanger here. Like, Andreas just came to visit us. We had a whole like meeting of the minds discussing the future, right? Reminiscing about old times. But it was incredible stuff coming down the pipeline. Like, really, when I say we are just starting, I mean that literally. Like, this, like the evolution of the tech, what the business is going to look like going forward, where we're headed, and why we're headed there is so exciting. It's just getting started. It's ready to go, honestly. So, yeah, we're excited, man. Again, I don't mean to cliffhang, but like, watch for the next podcast in the new year, because we'll be able to get into a little bit more detail. But some very big things on the horizon for sure.
Nice. Well, this is going to be a short one because, again, busy phone calls. Tiz has to get onto another phone call right now, so we try to squeeze this one in for everyone who's watching. But yeah, thank you for everyone for the support. It was a great meeting some of you operators out there. Absolutely awesome. Thank you, Mark, for having me host this podcast throughout the year. It's really appreciated. I learned so much about the business. And looking forward to 2024 and working with you guys and all the new developments that will come out of wallpen. So, yeah.
Right back at you, James, man. Yeah, kudos, man. This has been, whatever it is, the 10th podcast. It's pretty wild, man. This has been an awesome journey, and 2024 has got a lot more.
Yes.
Absolutely, man.
All right, guys.
Love hosting, buddy. We'll catch you in the new year for sure. And anybody else out there, feel free to reach out. Be happy to kind of talk about this more.
Awesome. All right. Happy holidays, everybody. We'll see you on the next episode. Happy New Year.